least.
Always fascinating and enlightening.
10:21, back after this on 89 WLS.
89 WLS.
10:27.
John Cass and Jake Hartford in for Bruce and Dan, and they're in for Don Wade and Roma. We're hoping Don feels better.
And tomorrow, Don undergoes surgery. If you wish to get information, you can go to our website, WLSAM.com, and there's also a link there if you wish to send him a get well wish. You can send him an email. It's getwelldon@gmail.com.
Yeah, it would be a good idea. And maybe, say a prayer too, if you have time.
We just heard the traffic they were talking about. There's traffic around where the Ryder Cup is being played at Medina, which is good for the Medina economy. Here's what I don't understand. It's U.S. versus Europe, right?
I guess.
Okay. The only person who lives in Chicago, the only golfer that lives in Chicago that's playing in this, is a golfer by the name of Luke Donald. Went to Northwestern University. But he's playing with the European team. He's playing with the other team because that's where he's from.
Like a dual citizen thing?
No, he's not a citizen here. He lives here, but he's a citizen from there. Plus, all these golfers on their team, they don't live there. They have homes down in Florida on golf courses where they can golf year-round.
The Europeans.
The Europeans. So I don't understand. It's not like...
I still don't understand the game.
It's a ball. You have clubs. You hit the ball, and you get it into the hole.
You hit it like 5 or 6 times and hit it into the hole. And you have a cigar.
Bad, yes. Yeah. No.
You have a cigar, and you drink beer in a cart, and you wear weird clothes. Like one guy I know, a sportscaster, wears pink pants. What is that about?
So you're just stereotyping all golfers now.
I'm just saying.
Which is really unfair.
I don't get it. Go fishing.
Well, you can't fish all the time.
Fish. The
fish
world
in the river?
is divided.
Have you ever fished in the river?
Yes,
Chicago
I have,
river?
sir.
Chicago River?
Yes, I have, sir.
What'd you catch?
A creature. It was glowing.
Okay, that's John Cass. I'm Jake Hartford, in for Bruce and Dan, who are in for Don and Roma. We've got more to come in the next half hour before Rush shows up with his show. But right now, it's 10:30, time for news, weather, traffic, right here.
When you want to know what the candidates are saying, turn to your Common Sense election headquarters, 89 WLS.
10:37. Want to remind you to go to WLSAM.com for breaking news, weather, traffic, and more. You can also download podcasts, listen live, and check out our exclusive photo and video galleries. Get it all at WLSAM.com. The president weighed in yesterday on the lockout of the NFL refs, the real refs, versus the ones they hired. He didn't say a word about the Chicago teacher strike when the kids were out, but he said something about the refs.
Isn't that leadership?
Well, a lot of the politicians are now.
They're all doing it. They're all talking about it. You know why? Because because school is about education. And you know what the NFL's about? It's a reality show for gambling. Okay? That's what it's about.
Joining us right now is former NFL referee, 31 years, Jim Tunney, the dean. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Nice to hear from you. How's things in Chicago?
Good, sir.
Beautiful. It's a fall. It's a fall day, and the Bears are 2-1, and they were a lot better since Green Bay lost on Monday.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, yes, and they go down to Dallas next week.
So how bad is it? What you're seeing? How bad is it?
It's bad. It's the worst I've seen. What we've done really is usually when we hire a rookie official in the NFL, only probably 4 or 5 each year, we'll put one rookie in a crew of 6 veterans, and right now we have 7 rookies working in the field. It's kind of like taking 11 free agents off the streets and having them play as a team, and you can't do that. The experience in the NFL requires that you have been there, you've gone through the ranks of, I call them the gates of high school and college and Division I major college football to have the experience to be qualified for the NFL, and none of these people have.
See, my partner John keeps insisting that referees always make mistakes, whether it's the replacement refs or the regular refs. And I try to tell him it isn't just a question of, everybody makes a mistake, but it's a question of the NFL. It's the speed of the game.
I think it's the integrity of the game that makes a difference, is that you're putting officials on the field that aren't qualified. I think it hurts the integrity of the game. As you probably know, early last week, the NFL issued an order that the coaches and players would stop abusing the officials. Well, I worked 31 years. Nobody ever told me that the league said to Mike Ditka or to Vince Lombardi or to Don Shula or to somebody else, stop abusing the officials. You can't legislate respect. Respect has to come from earned abilities, and these officials have not had that opportunity to have the earned abilities. None of I know, by the way, have ever even applied to the NFL, and if they've applied, they've never been accepted. So they've not had the experience and gone through the experiences that you need to get to the NFL.
Well, Mr. Tunney, one of the things that Jake's told me is the fact that the ball it's not just the mistakes, but that they don't put the ball in the right spot. The chains are different on one side and the other side. Things like that they lose track of timeouts. Things like this, I think, are pretty upsetting, aren't they?
Would you say it again? I'm sorry.
I think what John was saying was it isn't just mistakes, but the kind of mistakes like putting the ball, not knowing where the ball is supposed to be spotted. They put it on the 47 of one side where it should have been 47 of the other. Losing track of timeouts like they did in the 49er Viking game the other day, and didn't really know how the challenge was supposed to work. Stuff like that.
That's exactly right. It's just not the calling the fouls, which they've been doing from time to time as they've had experience at other levels, but it's the enforcement of penalties. The enforcement of penalties in the NFL is much different than college and very complicated. It's not easy, and it takes years. In fact, we have the experienced officials that are locked out right now doing tests over the phone, conference calls every week. We're up to number 19 tests now with 50 questions each, and going over the questions with the officials. The ones that are locked out, they're not getting paid. They're doing it because they need to keep up to speed, and you've got to do it all the time. These officials that have not had time to have the experience and not have the time to go through other experiences in major college. When you go through major college and you work in the Big 10, the Big 12, and the Pac-10 and all that, you get a level of experience and you can understand rule enforcement better. And then when you come in the NFL, then there's another adjustment. These guys are not ready for that.
Now, one of my beliefs here is that although football is a great game to watch, if it wasn't for the betting, it wouldn't be as a big a deal. And I'm wondering whether your comments about the integrity of the game, if the bettors start thinking that the game the game doesn't have integrity, they stop betting on it. They stop losing interest, and the whole spiral goes down.
They're betting on games now? I didn't understand that. Really?
I don't know. We're from Chicago. We're about a 10-minute drive from Chinatown here, so I don't know.
Well, let me put it this way: forget the betting. How about fantasy football? Because the NFL endorses fantasy football. There'd be a lot of fantasy football players who'd be very disappointed.
No question about that. And there's articles in the paper even today about having fantasy football with replacement officials. So maybe they need to do that. Now, the integrity of the game, it rests with the officials. It doesn't rest with the players or the coaches. It's nice that they would abide by the rules, but the reason that you have officials is because players and coaches don't abide by the rules. In fact, what you're seeing now in the NFL is the players are trying to get away with as many things as they can and testing these officials, saying, go ahead, see if you call that. We have a rule called the bump and run, where you can only touch a receiver in the first 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. Right. That rule's gone. I mean, they're all over the field now. And
so the defensive backs are grabbing them, huh?
Grabbing them all over the place, both offense and defense. And offensively, the guys push it off, as you saw in the Seattle game. Sure. But defensively, they're grabbing him all the time. It's a tough call anyway, the way the rules are written now. But these officials have not had the experience to understand the spirit of the rule.
We have to let you go, but just give me a one-word answer. The last play of the game, Seattle versus Green Bay, touchdown or touchback?
No, I think he intercepted the ball. I think it was over. He intercepted the ball. Actually, if you'd have called the pass interference, that's an offensive foul at the end of the game. The game's over anyway.
All right. Thank
so
you.
it wasn't called, and they dismissed that, and that's too bad.
Thank you very much, sir.
Nice of you to call. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Jim Tunney, NFL referee for 30-some years.
And we got to tell him that there's gambling on NFL games. He didn't know that.
10:44, time for WS traffic on 89 WS.
89
10:52. Oh, John Cash, Jay Cartford in for Bruce and Dan. You're a smart guy.
Well, that's a way to start a
Well,
conversation.
turn your microphone on first. That shows how smart you are. Okay.
You start a conversation saying somebody's smart, you know that the next thing they'll say is they respect you.
Why are manhole covers round?
I have no idea. Because the guy who had the contract originally had a round mold.
How many piano tuners are there in the entire world?
6.
How much toilet paper would you need to cover Texas?
75,000 rolls.
You are shrunk to the height of a nickel and thrown in a blender. The blade starts moving in 60 seconds. What do? You
jump.
How much should you charge to wash all the windows in Seattle?
About $200,000.
How many vacuum cleaners are made a year?
65.
Using only a 4-minute hourglass and a 7-minute hourglass, measure exactly 9 minutes without the process taking longer than 9 minutes.
Okay, I'm done. How's this?
Oh my God! Who
If you
the
were-
hell cares?
How's this? If you were shrunk by a giant, by a science ray gun, you know, one of those ray guns that shrink people?
Yeah.
And you were put in front of your dog and your cat, which one would still listen to you when you were 9 inches tall, and which one would eat you and deposit you in altered form near the evergreens in your front
the cat
yard?
would do that.
Okay.
These questions and a lot more are questions that Google ask potential employees to see how smart you are.
Did I pass?
Of course, you got them all right except for the hourglass one. You could qualify for Google, sir.
Thank you.
I can't even qualify to use Google. 10:54 back after this.
89
WLS.
10:57. John Cash, Jay Cartford, and for Bruce and Dan. You know, these Google questions. There are ways of figuring some of this stuff out.
Okay, like what is the square inches of a piece of toilet paper, and how do you apply that to the state of Texas if you don't know what the square footage of Texas
Well,
is?
that's what you'd have to find out, and then there's a mathematical formula you would use.
You Google that?
No, you go to Yahoo.
We can't figure things out anymore because of Google. Google has ruined sucked our minds dry. No one figures that stuff out anymore.
You can do
Just
it.
Google it. Come on.
See, this is why Google is so
Evil.
They have smart people working for them. They answer stuff like that.
Yeah, I can. And of course, I answered all the questions accurately.
Check out the big brain on bread.
There you go. And I shall, yeah. I was going to go on the biblical thing, but I want to stop it.
Yeah, but I was just looking at a poll that came out on the economy. People were asked who they would trust better to fix the economy. It came out 51% to 45%. Take a guess who has the 51%.
The guy who's ruined the economy.
Well, he inherited a bad economy, but you know what?
He made it worse.
He made it worse. Obama's 51%. If I had $100 to invest, I'd give it to Romney.
How about if you had several trillion to invest?
I'd give it to Romney.
Exactly. There's no question.
Yeah. But
you know what? The other guy is eye candy, and the girls on The View like his hair. Because they like how he sings that Al Green thing. How he did it.
And that whole thing with the argument with Romney's taxes and his 14% versus, is it fair that he paid that versus, somebody making $50,000, whatever. Well, the dirty secret of that question is the adjusted gross income of somebody making that was at 30 or 50, whatever the number was, is like 7%. So they're paying the low percentage to begin with.
And he's already paid tax.
But it really doesn't matter because people don't listen to all that stuff. They don't care about that stuff. They're not going to decide on that stuff.
It's what Madonna says.
I look at it this way. It's going to be 4 good years for radio and 4 bad years for the country. Rush coming up. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 o'clock in for Bruce and Dan. Rush coming up now in a couple minutes. And then Roe and Roper will keep you entertained and informed on your afternoon drive home starting at 2 o'clock right here in 89 WLS.